Are you all fresh, relaxed? Did you have enough beer last night? I hope so, because this is going to be really boring. So you need to look into something nice. The beer for tonight. I am here. My name is Davide Palumbo. I work for Navis, a consulting company that is supporting environmental regulations. And here with me, I have a guest on honor, is Mr. Tim Wink.
Good morning.
We started to have some cooperation because I was pushing him out of retirement somehow. And as you can see, just a couple of slides, nothing to be worried about. So we will go very fast through them. First of all, everybody's talking about F-GAS. F-GAS, F-GAS, F-GAS. Of course, it's the thing of the time, in the moment, what is going on. But there is another regulation which is creeping in. It started in 2023, 1st of October in Europe. And it's called C.B.A.M, Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism. So if you look at this chart, you have sectors which are affected by the F-GAS regulation. And you may probably understand that some of them may also be in scope for the C.B.A.M regulation. For example, automotive, HVACR, and so forth. And the C.B.A.M regulation is about cement, iron, steel, aluminum, fertilizers, electricity, and hydrogen. It's good to know that it exists, and there's some work needs to be done to understand if your company is affected or not by the C.B.A.M regulation. More of it later. I'm going to go quickly through this slide. I think everybody has heard about Brexit. It's not a thing of today, but there is still a problem because not everybody has understood yet that there are two different quota systems. And we see big names defined by the Environmental Agency in the UK. It's a public list which can be accessed by everybody. And the names that are there are quite surprising because they are not mamas and papa shops most of the times. And the fines are quite huge. They start at £200,000 and they go up. Most recently, one guy was the champion and got nearly 1.5 million penalty from the UK government because he was blissfully bringing HFCs into the UK, thinking that it was okay because they were imported in Europe. So it's very important to understand that there are two regions. That's a big takeaway. Surprise, surprise, solar. Now everybody is saying, okay, solar panels, yes, green energy, fantastic. But not everybody thinks that the solar panels need to store the energy in batteries. And batteries, since the crack of dawn, tend to overheat. And if you have batteries overheating, they burn. So when the batteries are coming in, the rack of batteries coming in, there is a chiller inside that cools the whole system down. And guess what? R134A is there. But because the batteries do not fall under the F-GAS regulation, this flies way below the radar and is not captured. So in the solar sector, it's green, but it has a spot, which needs to be looked after. And I think now probably it's better if you bring something in.
I'm not sure. Yeah, it works. Well, you can read through, but essentially, and the previous speaker also referred to the F-GAS regulation. The message clearly is that actually the quantities that can be placed on the EU market are going down very substantially. The thresholds have been reduced compared to the previous F-GAS regulation in Europe, in the EU. The UK still has, well, Great Britain, I should say, still has the old F-GAS regulation. So there the threshold is still 100 tons CO2 equivalent for the example as the threshold. Very important is that you need to be in the registry to obtain quota and to trade quota. And there is a difference between incumbents and new entrants. a big difference for new entrants is that actually they cannot trade the quota. They have to use their quota. They cannot authorize the quota for use for import of pre-charge equipment, for example. And obviously there is a reporting obligation. And the new regulation, the EU regulation, has adopted a implementing act on the reporting system. If you haven't seen it, then I recommend you start reading it, because it's far more complex than the old system. And it will be very difficult to monitor to what extent you've been using your quota. I think that's all for the tie.
Okay. I was mentioning earlier on Brexit. Now, a little lesson in geography. There is an ancient land in northwest of Europe known as United Kingdom. However, the United Kingdom is composed by how many regions? Can somebody tell me how many regions? There is one hand up, and I can say that he is right. 4 regions. There is England, Scotland, and Wales, plus Northern Ireland. It's called the United Kingdom because it's United Kingdom of Great Britain, something new, and Northern Ireland. Why am I bringing this up? Because after Brexit, there was the adoption by the UK government of the F-GAS regulation, so it is in place also there. However, there is a catch, because everybody thinks UK quota system. Actually, it's Great Britain quota system. So if you are moving products from the European Union to Great Britain, so England, Scotland, and Wales, you need to comply with the GB F-GAS regulation. And if from UK, there is a transit in UK from Great Britain to Northern Islands, surprise, surprise, the European quota kicks in again. So it's very important for all the manufacturers, wholesalers, and anybody that is dealing with the movement from Great Britain to Northern Ireland and to ROI, Republic of Ireland, because the island, it's still Europe, even though Northern Ireland is part of the UK. And this is something that we see day in, not even day in, day out. Companies don't get it and they get fines, because there is a free trade movement between Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Clearly, it's one region, but still under the F-GAS regulation, everything needs to be declared. So I thought that this slide was sufficiently clear to visualize that there is a problem there and you need to be aware of. And in case you want to have some more information, you can always contact us. As Tim was mentioning earlier on, if you want to elaborate a little bit more on this one.
Very quickly, again, for time's sake. Essentially, quota apply for bulk imports, and quota can be obtained by manufacturers or importers of pre-charge equipment to actually place products on the market in the European Union or in Great Britain that are pre-charged with F-gases that are covered by the quota system. The quota system covers only HFCs, so it doesn't cover the HFOs, for example. But obviously blends with HFOs and HFCs are covered by the quota to the extent that they contain HFCs. There may be, well, you can see the slide, the authorizations can be delegated once. That means that if a quota holder can actually authorize a third party to use their quota, and that third party can transfer that authorization or delegate that authorization to yet another party.
Yep. As you can see, there are some words marked in bold red. It's for a reason. If you have obtained quota from the European Commission, you can only exclusively use it to import bulk gas. You cannot use it to import pre-charge equipment. which is the common somehow misunderstanding. A lot of clients come to us and say, well, I got the fine, but I got the quota. Well, yeah, not the right type. That's the thing. And the movement of quota to authorizations to delegations can only go this way. It's one direction. There is no way that delegations can become by magic authorizations and then by more magic back to quota. Once the quota is authorized, it's authorized. Once the quota is delegated, it's delegated. Okay? I think Thibaut already explained that there are two types of companies, so I'm not going to waste too much time here, also because the nice guy before me took a lot of my presentation time, so I need to squeeze myself in. I was mentioning penalties. This is an extract of a notification that the company received from the Environment Agency, and you can clearly see that there are two steps. The first one is statutory penalty. You did not follow the F-GAS regulation in Great Britain, not UK, Great Britain, £200,000 because you've been a naughty boy. Then what happens? They check how many tons of CO2 equivalent you have exceeded your allowance. And, well, this one shows 25. And now we managed to discuss with the Environment Agency. They decide, okay, well, 25 maybe is a little bit too much. And now it's £10. So you need to be very careful when you are moving stock, as I was mentioning earlier on, because they are checking and they are issuing fines. If you want, basically, this is just the new phase down, yes. The guy before me spent a lot of time on it, but I think our slide is nicer. I like more the colors, more gravity to the situation. And, well, you're taking pictures, but you can get the presentation if you come to us. It's simpler, and it's better quality. Now we deep dive into C.B.A.M regulation. I was mentioning cement, iron, steel, and aluminum. Once again, some words are in bold red. Now, I'm going to ask one question that I don't know if there is somebody brave enough in the audience to answer. So let's say a company is importing air conditioning units or refrigeration equipment, okay? They import the whole unit, fine, is not in scope of the C.B.A.M, even though it may contain some of these substances, so scot-free, no problem. However, you are also maybe sometimes importing spare parts for your equipment. And that's where the problem may actually be. Because the real question is, what is this thingy in green? It's a screw. But then there is another question. What is this screw for? Now, the majority of the importers, they are, yes, it's a part of an air conditioning because I'm selling air conditioning. Wrong. A screw, it's a screw, just like a rose is a rose. You cannot change the nature of the product. And if in the tariff code of the European Union, there is a tariff code for the product that you are imported, you must use that tariff code. Why? Because if you don't, you are in breach of the customs regulation. You may pay more duty than what you are supposed to, or less duty than what you are supposed to. Anyway, not the right duty. So you are in breach of the customs regulation. And it gets worse. Because if you are in breach of the customs regulation now, and one of the products is in scope of the C.B.A.M, you are also in breach of the C.B.A.M. So,
To add that basically the C.B.A.M regulation has identified each individual codes that must be reported under the C.B.A.M regulation.
yes.
You need to communicate the carbon content of that specific product.
Yes. And as Tim was saying, if somebody has the patience to go through the C.B.A.M regulation, they will see there is Annex 1. And in Annex 1, there is the list of all the tariff codes which are affected by the C.B.A.M. So one good exercise that must be done to prevent headaches further down the line is am I doing the right thing from the customs point of view or not? Because if you are, you sleep well. If you aren't, you may be in for a nasty surprise sooner or later, because they will come back to you. I am in talk with local ministries of environment in Italy, in Estonia, and in other countries, even outside of the European Union. And they are starting to understand that there may be something more. So if a company is importing air conditioning and parts of air conditioning, there might be something to look into. So the local authorities are starting to be a little bit more careful about what's been declared. And there is a lot of work going on because the single window is now in place. And that is a wonderful instrument if things are done properly. Otherwise, it becomes a nightmare. Few things. Incorrect customs classification, this is a big problem. So you need to know what you are importing and if you are using the correct tariff codes. For the reporting, it's quarterly. F-GAS is annually. C.B.A.M is quarterly. So every quarter, at the end of the following month, you need to do the reporting. The date that needs to be used for the reporting is the customs clearance date. So when the products have been released for free circulation within the European Union. This is another thing that I'm bringing up because many of my clients are using the good receipts date, which may be different from the customs clearance date. And clearly, country of origin. I come from a big company before working for Navis, and I've seen that there is a pattern in big companies. Now, if a product is coming from China, it's all made in China. If a product is coming from Thailand, it's all made... No, that's the country where it's shipped from. You may receive a product from China, which has been manufactured in India, or you may receive a product from Thailand, which has been manufactured in China. So you need to know the right country of origin and not only the right manufacturer. So you may know the buyer, but you may not know the manufacturer. And what the regulation wants to know is who is the manufacturer, because based on that, the carbon credits are calculated. I don't know, I don't want to scare you enough because I think everybody is in shock and awe for the F-GAS regulation. We have a kind of internal slogan, no? A, B, C.B.A.M, no, we make it easy. So we can help you making assessment and compliances for all these parts. A little bit of the regulation entered into force in the last quarter of 2023. First month obligation to report was 31st of January 2024, and since then every quarter the following month reporting is due. It's done through a web portal of the customs, local customs, so French customs, German customs, Italian customs, and so forth. Funnily enough, if you go onto the portal, you have two choices, customs portal and C.B.A.M portal. Guess which one you need to use, just to be safe? Your answer, C.B.A.M? My God, you're wrong. You need to use customs, even though there is C.B.A.M there. So this regulation is made to confuse people, to make them totally disoriented. So that's why we are there. We have already gone through a lot, and we have spoken to the lawmakers. So we have some tools to help you for your reporting, your internal assessment, and so forth. Sorry, a little bit of advertising, but I think that's what we're for. Fines. Okay, there may be fines coming your way if you are not reporting correctly or if you're not reporting at all, and you are supposed to. And just like the F-GAS regulation, which is measured in tons of CO2 equivalent, surprise, surprise, the European Union does not shine for creativity and new things. They create new things by recycling old things. So the ton of CO2 equivalent is also here. But it's called carbon credit. And somebody may have some bell ringing. It's something similar to ETS. Actually, it's exactly the same thing as ETS, just applied to different aspects of the business. This is us, basically. And in case somebody wants to know us more up and close and personally, we are in Hall 4, stand 219. very close to another manufacturer called Clivet. Just in case you don't remember our name, maybe Clivet rings a bell. Okay, close to Clivet, there is somebody you want to talk to. That's us. Just come and see us is much better than go through a slide, and that's very informal. I think we are over. Thank you very much. There are many more slides which you will be able to download and go through. We decided to prepare a large presentation to let anybody that wants to dive a little bit more have some material, possibly user-friendly, much more than the choice between C.B.A.M and customs reporting tools that is on the online portal. So here we are. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Before going away, we have some leaflets, some goods that you can take with you to remember who we are and what we do. Thank you very much.
Thank you.